Mr. Mayor, we're ready.
Good evening. Welcome to the City of Sugarland City Council meeting for Tuesday, June 1st. A little bit about our agenda tonight. In a minute, we're going to have the prayer and the pledge, and that'll be by Councilmember Jacobson. And then we're going to have two special recognitions. So, Stuart, I'd invite you to give us the invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us and to treat all persons with the reverence your creation deserves. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Daphne, I'm going to invite Daphne McKinney, who's our Strategic Planning and Philanthropy Manager. Gene Reed is our special guest, and the gentleman that we're going to honor tonight, and Sunny Sharma, who's president of the Sugarland Legacy Foundation. If you all could come, please stand right up here. Tonight we're here to honor you, Gene, and I'm going to start with I'm going to take a little bit of personal liberty. You know, you founded the E.E. Reed Construction Company 44 years ago, and you and Pat have been, great members of our community, members of St. Teresa's Catholic Church. You've been involved not only in the Legacy Foundation, but the church and many other things. I know we've called upon you for not only the memorial that was built, but you guys have been just given from the heart. One of the things I think that impressed me the most, and I have the book that we got at your 40th anniversary, and as I was going through that tonight, there are a few things that really stood out. Here are the values that Gene, when he founded E.E. Reed, these are the core values that he's built the company around. First was humility, integrity, fairness, and loyalty. And you embody all those things, Gene, from the time that I've known you. I also wanted to share something that I'm going to read, and it was a quote from Gene. He said, he understood from the inside out our industry is all about relationships. Construction is a people business. It's about promises made and promises kept and the bonds that develop over time. And Gene, that probably more than anything talks about the way you and Pat have been involved in the community. Promises made and promises kept. So I'm going to ask Daphne now to say a few words, followed by Sunny, and then I'm going to read a certificate of recognition, Gene. We're proud of you. We're certainly glad you and Pat chose Sugarland as our home, and all of Sugarland has benefited from you guys being solid members of our community, and we love you and we thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, Mayor, you almost quite literally took the words out of my mouth. I also have a copy of that book. And I also made my speaking remarks based on those 4 values, but I'm going to do it anyway, okay? Gene, I'm sorry for being repetitive. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Gene, Sunny, thank you for being here. I am humbled and honored to be before you tonight to recognize Sugarland Legacy Foundation's former president and board member, Gene Reed, who served as a volunteer for over 10 years. Established in 2010, the Legacy Foundation has served as a vehicle for giving toward quality of life improvements in the city. Appointed as its first president, Jean helped to carry the Legacy Foundation through its first 10 years of success. Jean has received or achieved respect and acclaim within the foundation and community by remaining relentlessly faithful to a set of simple values that guide his life and business. These values, as the mayor mentioned, humility, integrity, fairness, and loyalty. Those values, along with the support of a team of revered board members, served as a compass to navigate the new foundation successfully through its inaugural years. Jean is leaving a legacy of resilient leadership and legacy-level giving that will continue to light the course of the foundation as it steers into the future. Jean, on behalf of the city, we can't thank you enough for your service, a tireless volunteer effort. We are so lucky that you chose to call Sugarland your home. And I'll now turn it over to Sonny. I believe he has a couple of words to say.
Thank you. Jean, on behalf of the Sugarland Legacy Foundation and all of my board members, which included you until now, we really appreciate all you have done. You know, when you serve on a board, there are a lot of people who listen very, very well. And there are very, very few people who speak very little. As the president of the board, you set the course for us. You spoke and we listened. More important than that, you listened to all of us and carried out your duties with your heart and passionately served our city. You gave the example, what Mayor said, about the business that you have led, which your family is following you, and you led the Sugarland Legacy Foundation. I want to end with one quote. I'm standing on your shoulders so I can see farther as the board of Sugarland Legacy Foundation. And I really appreciate what you have done for this city. God bless you. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you. Mayor? Who has a proclamation?
Jean, this is from the Office of the Mayor. This is a certificate of recognition presented to Jean Reed, Sugarland Legacy Foundation. This certificate of recognition is for Edward Eugene Jean Reed, honoring the former president and Sugarland Legacy Foundation board member for his tireless service and significant contributions to our community. Jean served on the Sugarland Legacy Foundation from 2010 to 2021 and was the foundation's first president. His pioneering spirit and commitment to the community were pivotal in carrying the foundation through its first 10 years of success. A great source of pride for the city and his most significant contribution to the foundation was the completion of the Veterans Remembrance Tower at Sugarland Memorial Park, which he and his company funded and constructed. This tower honors each branch of the military and those men and women, local, who lost their lives defending our great nation. More recently, he also constructed the base for the Veterans Memorial Eagle. The eagle sits on a hill overlooking the tower and represents the freedom that we all share. These projects wouldn't have been completed if it weren't for Jean's generosity and expertise. More than his role with the Legacy Foundation, Jean is an incredible example of what it means to build the American dream, both literally and figuratively. And actually, it's more than just that, Jean. It's what you've given back to our community that make it even more special. So we're only too proud to present you with this certificate of recognition, Jean. Can you say a few words?
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, well, thank you very much, Mayor. It's been a long ride here. I think we moved here to Sugarland about 47 years ago, and there was 3,000 people here at that time. And yeah, it was. We've seen the city grow. Obviously, back then, it was a company town. It was Imperial Sugar was it. And when I built my home in Venetian, I had to get my permit from the sugar company I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name that ran.
Was that Bill Little?
No, not Bill. I can't remember his name now, but anyway, he was the guy who was in charge of permits, and so it was a very hometown kind of thing, and so back then the fire department was a volunteer fire department, and they blew the whistle at noon every day just to tell you it was noon.
Yeah. So you know what time it was, huh?
Yeah, but then they had certain whistles for different areas of town to tell the firemen where the fire was. It's beep, beep at this area, and beep, 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 whatever. And that's how they communicated. But most of the firemen were volunteers, and they worked primarily for the sugar company, most of them. And it was just a little sleepy, small town little thing. And but we had a great time getting started and got to know the people. And just as a side note, we were considered living in the I forget what they called us, the Velvet area or something, because our homes were a little bit bigger than a lot of the other homes here in Sugarland at that time. And so they were kind of standoffish toward new people that weren't involved with the sugar company. And so once, after 2-3 years being here, I was invited to a dance at the Sugarland Variety Club, or dance club had, to attend one of their functions. And I said, man, we've arrived.
It was a big nightlife back then.
Oh man, I mean, we were in the crowd, and we were in the group, so to speak. But no, they were very good people. But they were just country folks, and so anyway, we've grown with a lot of those people and a lot of friends and whatever over the years. So, but thank you for this award very much. There's a lot of people. I'm accepting this for a lot of people that did the work, and we had a lot of subcontractors that were ex-military men, and they were happy to help with the building of that monument at the park there. And so on their behalf, I thank you very much, because they're the ones that did the work, primarily. And I had a couple of superintendents that helped with it that were also big. One of them was a big Marine, and so he was we couldn't keep him on the job. We were building Texas Instruments, that building right down the street, and he was always over there instead of on his job, But
Instead on the paying job, he's over there on the volunteer.
yeah,
right?
yeah. But anyway, it was a nice thing to do, and we appreciate the work that we've been able to do for the city of Sugarland. We built the administration building at the airport for I forget what they call that building, but it's the main building there. And boy, that's a enterprise that has really flourished over the years. So, but anyway, thank you for the award very much. I'm sorry I've carried on so long for this. So anyway, thank you.
Council members, come on down. Let's get a picture, Gene. Gary?
All right, looking great. Right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One last one. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's good. Thank you very much. Okay.
next recognition is a posthumous recognition of Lieutenant Sandy Fontenot. I'm going to ask Officer Michael Weatherly, who was Sandy's husband and is a current Sugarland police officer, Tony Manna, president of the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association. We've got Captain Chris Thompson, Lieutenant John Volek, and Lisa Maharado. Get everybody down here, get everybody settled. Lieutenant Fontenot was a PD liaison with the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association for many years, but she started as a patrol officer, and over a 19-year career became only the second female officer to hold the rank of lieutenant. Lieutenant Fontenot was involved with many different aspects of the department and has been a Champs Award recipient. She lost her battle to cancer on February the 3rd of 2021. She'll always hold a special place in our hearts for not only her service, but the way she treated others. She received last year the award for the CPAA Officer of the Year. Of course, with the pandemic, we couldn't do a proper recognition. So it's only right that we do this now tonight. I'm going to ask Tony Manna, the president of CPAA, to come up, and I think you've got a few words, and then you've got a proclamation. I'll hold this. I'll hold that. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Manna, and I am president of the Sugarland Citizen Police Academy Alumni Association. Lieutenant Fontenot and I took over the fundraising some time ago, and we didn't have much experience doing it, but we learned to navigate through. And in those years, we worked hard as a team, and we put together some of the biggest fundraising events that we've had to this day. She was such a hard worker. She was so dedicated to the Sugarland Police Department and our organization. Even when she got sick, she still texted me every once in a while to check if we needed anything and if all of us were doing well. Even though we lost her earlier this year, she will never be forgotten. And it is my honor to call her my good friend and the 2020 SL CPAA Volunteer of the Year. Thank you.
Chief Chris.
Just want to say thank you, Mayor, Council, for this recognition. As you said, Lieutenant Sandy Fontenot, she was a true inspiration to our police department, and she will surely be missed. Mike Weatherly is her significant other, and he was definitely very supportive throughout this whole process, and we want to say that we support him without a doubt. But thank you to Council and the city for this recognition. Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association is a wonderful partner with the police department. They do a lot of volunteering and assisting us, and so we thank you. We thank you for this recognition, and it was truly deserving.
I'll just keep it quick. Officer Weatherly, you know how we feel about Sandy. We miss her terribly. We love her, and like the president, Tony, was saying, she actually, even when she was sick in the hospital, kept calling us and asking us if we needed anything, if all the things that we had planned were being taken care of. She never once stopped thinking about us. And so, Mike, we really do miss her. We thank her for her service, and we hope that we can find someone in the future that would be so much energy as she had. And so we want to congratulate Sandy, even though she's gone, for her service to our department. Thank you.
Officer Weatherly, what I remember about Sandy, and I didn't know her as well as many of you did, but I just remember is some of the CPAA banquets, and whenever I'd go into the room when we'd be we'd be talking to the staff, she always had a smile on her face. She could light up a room. We're sorry for your loss, but we were the beneficiary of having her on our police department. And we thank you, and we certainly thank you, and I honor her tonight by doing this honor for her. If I could get you guys to move this way, council members, if I could get everybody to come in behind. Read the proclamation. Lieutenant Sandy Fontenot, Chief Citizen Achievement, CPAAA 2020 Officer of the Year, June 1st, 2021. Whereas Lieutenant Sandy Fontenot began working with the Sugarland Police Department in 2002 as a patrol officer. In 2006, she was promoted to the rank of sergeant. And in 2017, she was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. And whereas she worked in various assignments throughout her career, including crime prevention, administration, training, and patrol, she served as the Honor Guard Commander, a hostage negotiator, and a member of a special response team. And whereas in her role as the Support Services Lieutenant, she was instrumental in Sugarland PD's Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, Inc., CALEA, the accreditation process. She was also the liaison for the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association and the Back the Blue fundraising event for law enforcement. And whereas due to her many contributions in 2018, Lieutenant Fontenot was recognized as the CPAAA Officer of the Year, and then as a 2019 City Champion Employee. Whereas despite her untimely passing in February of 2021, because of her many contributions, Lieutenant Fontenot was again named the CPAAA Officer of the Year for 2020. Lieutenant Fontenot was survived by her husband, Michael Weatherly, who is also a Sugarland police officer, 2 adult children, and several grandchildren. Thank you again.
All right, everyone looking right here for me? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Item number 1, public comment. Thomas, do we have anybody that wishes to comment?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, the consent agenda. Consent agenda is going to be taken as one motion unless a council member pulls an item on the agenda, at which time we'll have a brief presentation of that item, and then we'll take that item up. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Kermali. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second by McCutcheon. If you vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you, council members. Item number 3, donations. 3A, consideration of an action on acceptance of a donation from the Sugarland Legacy Foundation in the amount of $5,000 for an Americans with Disabilities Act Freedom Swing at City Park. And we have Daphne McKinney, our Strategic Planning and Philanthropy Manager. Daphne.
Good evening. Next slide, please. On behalf of the Sugarland Legacy Foundation, we're pleased to present a generous donation of ADA playground equipment. Oh, next slide, please. Sorry, I'm using the keyboard. This is just a quick donation snapshot here. The donor, and he and his wife need no introduction. Amy and Gary Becker from Gary Becker Foundation. They're at the back here. I'm probably going to ask you to come up for a photo. They are donating through via the Legacy Foundation. They donated $5,000 for an ADA Freedom Swing, which is a universally accessible swing. It'll be located at City Park. Next slide. Just a couple of details about the swing itself. You can see the photo. We went through the buy board, and when I say we, I mean the Parks Department went through the buy board. The vendor is Fun Abounds. The brand is Burke. It's going to be installed as a standalone swing. This means there will be no removal or replacement of another swing. If you imagine City Park, you have the playground here, you've got the regular swings here. The universally accessible swing will be placed right next to that. And that will make City Park one of 2 city sites with ADA playground equipment. So I'm very excited to announce that. It does help us meet the CAPRA certification, which is the Parks and Recreation Association. Next slide, please. So I'm keeping it short and sweet for you. I do recommend, and I am once again for the second time tonight just honored and humbled to be up here before you. This time recommending that City Council accept a $5,000 donation from the Sugarland Legacy Foundation, generously provided by the Amy and Gary Becker Foundation for the ADA Freedom Burke Swing at City Park.
Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Jacobson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Kermally. If you vote at this time, please. And it passes unanimously. And Daphne, you're absolutely right. We got to get a picture. So if we could ask Gary and Amy to come down, council members, you'll join us. We love a good picture.
All right, looking great. Right here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Item number 4, contracts and agreements. Consideration of and action on authorization of a construction contract with Mainland Industries Limited in the amount of $1,952,934.50 for the distribution system water main rehabilitation program, CIP CWA 2002. And we have Timothy John, our assistant city engineer. Tim.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Yes, this evening we are seeking your approval for a construction project. Project background: the city annually has a rehab program where we design in 1 year. We have funds available for construction next year. So as we're designing one, we're constructing and flip-flopping through every year, every fiscal year. The projects that we recommend come through what's called the City Asset Management Program. And this is a model that defines the projects based on risk, likelihood of failure, and consequences of failure. It assigns a risk score. And that model also includes routine breaks, routine leaks, and cardinal knowledge that the Public Works Department has on operations of that particular pipeline. For this particular project, the design was started in FY 21, and the design was completed in March of 2021. Next slide, please. This map depicts the kind of clustering or location of for this particular project, the water distribution layout. We have 5 sites in Sugar Creek area. We have 1 site near Brook Street, 1 site near Ulrich, and 1 by the northern town near West Belford. Next slide. The project scope includes approximately rehabilitation of 15,000 linear feet of 8 to 12-inch water lines within the Sugar Creek area that I mentioned, about 600 linear feet of 12-inch water line along the Ulrich Street from Avenue A to Old Imperial Road. We have a new installation of about 1,100 linear feet of 8-inch water line along West Belford and Cabeza Drive. And then we have a rehab of approximately 470 linear feet of 12-inch water line along the Brook Street Bridge. Next slide. For the contractor selection process, we broke the package up into a base bid and alternate bid. The base bid included 16,700 linear feet of 8-inch and 12-inch waterline main and all the appurtenances that go with it. The alternate bid was 470 linear feet of 12-inch waterline along the Brook Street Bridge crossing. We set it up this way in the event whether we weren't sure if we could afford the project or not, and we have the option to not award the alternate bid if price were not in our favor. The bid advertised on March 17th and March 24th, and to our liking, we received 6 bids on April 8th, 2021. Next slide, please. This is the bid summary. It shows the 6 bidders with the base bid and add alternates. As you can see, the total base bid for the low bidder was Mainland Industries of just over $1.952 million, and it ranged from this number to the high bid of J. Rivas Construction of $2.652 million and some change. The engineer's cost estimate was $2.8 million and some change for this project. Mainland Industries is the apparent low bidder. They are located in Houston. They have been in business for quite a while. They've actually completed a CIP project for the city called CIP WW1804 with the Oyster Creek Siphon Replacement Project, and the city was satisfied with their performance. Next slide. So the funding needs are as follows. Construction, including the base bid and the alternate bid, is $1,952,934.50. We typically keep a 10% contingency of $195,000. We have construction admin, we're estimating $26,000. This brings the total construction of a little over $2.173 million. The available budget in this project is $2.8 million, which means a remaining balance of $626,065.50. We're recommending that the remaining balance stay with this project. We have put out an FYI recently about increasing prices of projects. We are going to lock in the prices, the unit bid prices for this project. However, there have been some force majeure issues that have come up in the past, like the winter storm of 2016, COVID-19, and now we're in the middle of hurricane season, or not in the middle, starting hurricane season. And if there are supply interruptions due to what's called force majeure, which we don't really expect, but in the case, the low likelihood that that does occur, we are recommending that the remaining balance stay with this project so we would have funds to be able to handle that. But we are locking in the prices. As soon as this project is awarded this evening, the contractor will be held to that unit prices that he has a bid for this project. And assuming that we do award the project tonight, the substantial completion would be 180 days after notice to proceed. Next slide, please. For the construction impacts, we expect temporary water service interruptions, anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. And same with the temporary driveway access restrictions. Those ones may be a little longer depending on cutting through. Those could be anywhere from 3 to 6 hours. For notifications per policy CO 1110, we'll give the residents a 48-hour notice of any construction. We'll certainly put out door hangers. We'll have mail outs as needed, and one-on-one communications with residents also as needed. Next slide. So the request for approval is to authorize the execution of the construction contract with Mainland Industry Limited, the distribution water system main rehab project, CIP CWA 2002, in the amount of $1,952,934.50. The next slide, we open up to any questions.
Questions, staff? Do I have a motion? Got a motion by McCutcheon. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second by Lane. You vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you, council members.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Item number 5, ordinances and resolutions. 5A, first consideration of an action on City of Sugarland ordinance number 2232. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugarland, Texas, authorizing the city manager to grant exceptions to development code regulations in association with contracts and agreements approved under the authority granted by ordinance 2221 and setting forth other provisions related thereto. Don Steff, the Economic Development Liaison. Don.
Good evening, Council. Wanted to take a quick minute to reintroduce Dawn Steff. As many of you know, she's been with the city for over 10 years now and has served in several different capacities. Over the last few months, she has joined Economic Development and supported us in our All In for SLTX campaign and some of the work that's going on there. So wanted to reintroduce her and let her take it away from here. Thank you.
Elizabeth, you're a recruiting machine out there.
We got a lot of going on.
Yes, and I'm happy to help out. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. So some background on this project. As you know, Fort Bend County approved $2 million for the City of Sugarland to establish a business support program in December. We approved Ordinance 2221 that granted the city manager authority to approve contracts up to $250,000 for the All In for SLTX initiative. And we also workshopped this item with the Economic Development Committee last week. Next slide. So the All In for SLTX initiative was stemmed from the excitement, to do cool stuff in the city. It's also in response to the COVID pandemic to support our small businesses, which are still hurting at this time. Next slide. So the business support program created 4 buckets of projects: Sweet Cash and Business Resiliency, Pop-Up Improvements, and Business Innovation. And we'll go into more depth on what this ordinance would pertain to. Next slide. So we have the request for placemaking that opened up, I believe, in February. So it is an ongoing call. We have an application that's online that people can go online and submit their project. So we decide on each project on a case-by-case basis as the applications are received, and we do not have any idea of what will be submitted under this project. We have 5 projects that have already been submitted at this time, with one being approved for funding, which most of y'all attended the Art Museum of Texas grand opening last week, which was really exciting. Next slide. Our second open call is for artists, and that has closed, and we received 143 applications that are now being reviewed. But again, the unknown nature of what those projects are at this time is just another reason why we are proposing this ordinance. Next slide. So this ordinance would authorize city manager to provide temporary code exemptions only for the All In for SLTX projects. It excludes the life safety, public nuisance, the infrastructure and drainage, and state and federal laws. And so what it'll do is it helps us streamline the project. So the project comes in and needs some code exemptions. The all-in for SLTX projects need to be completed by the end of the year. So we need these projects to be streamlined for approval, and our just processes don't allow for that right now. Next slide. So we have a city staff review committee that has members from fire, planning, engineering, ENS, and all of these committee members review the project, including any of the temporary code exemptions. So once the committee approves those exemptions, then they would go to the city manager for approval. The temporary exemptions would also be detailed in the agreement and have an exemption termination. So if the project is for a year, that temporary exemption would end at that year. There's also an ordinance termination that is built in. So once that $2 million of CARES funding has been expended, this ordinance will also terminate. Next slide. So this is just the first reading of the ordinance that will authorize the city manager the approval for temporary code exemptions for the all-in for SLTX programs. The second reading would be held on June 15th. And with that, we will recommend approval of this ordinance, and I will take any questions.
Questions of Dawn? I'll make the motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Kermali. If you vote this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you, council members. 5B, first consideration of an action on City of Sugarland Ordinance Number 2236, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugarland, Texas, establishing a generator rebate program. We have with us Lisa Kosich-Meyer, our Director of Planning and Development Services. Lisa.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm happy to be before you this evening to present Ordinance 2236 for your consideration and approval on first reading. So a little bit of background on this item. As many of you know and probably witnessed, the city has a history of providing relief to residents following storms or emergency disasters that may occur in our area. And all of this is really for an intent of minimizing impacts when our residents are faced with possibly costly repairs due to damages incurred from storms that come through our area. In kind of recent history, City Council has waived permit fees for roof repairs following Hurricane Ike. Also, most recently, as a result of Winter Storm Uri, City Council authorized a variety of relief measures, including fee waivers for permits that were needed for residents to make any repairs from the results of that storm. And not to add just another layer, but today officially kicks off the Atlantic hurricane season and ends lasting through November 30th of this year. So all in all, we're looking for what opportunities there might be to support and encourage preparedness and resiliency, really, in the aftermath of a storm. Next slide. Okay. So a little bit about kind of our thought process, and as you may recall, as was mentioned during the retreat last week, we have been thinking through what a pilot program might be to look at focusing on a broader residential reinvestment and resiliency efforts. And so in order to support some of those additional recovery efforts, while also kind of looking ahead proactively as we start hurricane season, we are recommending an incentive offer. This incentive offer would be focused on rebating fees paid to the city associated with the installation of permanent standby generators at homes in the city. And this rebate would cover the plan check and permit fees associated with going through the permitting process to have a permanent generator installed. That would total approximately $624 in city permitting fees. Homeowners would be eligible if they've installed permanent standby generators at their home since February 15th of this year, which was the start of the winter storm, and that are completed by November 30th. And when we talk about completed, that's completing the city permitting process, installation, and passing all required inspections, and of course, submittal of a rebate application. Next slide. So in a nutshell, that is really the overview of Ordinance 2236 before you this evening. It establishes a rebate program for homeowners who have installed a permanent standby generator at their home. The work would need to be permitted and installed starting February 15th of 2021. And the rebate would cover the permit and plan check fees paid to the city during the permitting process. Applicants or homeowners may request a rebate by completing an application, and rebates would be granted after all of the required city inspections are completed and approved. And again, the offer would expire on November 30th of this year. Next slide, please. We will utilize all of our messaging tools to get the word out about this rebate promotion and offer if City Council approves this. Applications will be available online, and we'll also provide some outreach to property owners who have gone through the permitting process and have installed their generators going back to February 15th, so that they are aware of the offer that they can take advantage of. Next slide. So with that, I recommend approval of Ordinance 2236 on first reading, establishing the generator rebate program, and be happy to take any questions.
Questions? Stuart?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Lisa.
Good evening.
Lisa, given the many thousands of dollars that a permanent standby generator will cost, how do we know that $624 of rebates is enough to get people to make the decision to install generators versus it just being a windfall to people who are going to do it anyway?
Right, it's a good question. I think I would offer that any little bit helps. The $624 could be about roughly 10% of the cost of installing a permanent generator at their home. It really is kind of an incentive, or could be seen as an incentive for some homeowners to make that decision. But in the end, it is something that we can, I think, do to promote goodwill and maybe encourage some of the preparedness that can go a long way in the aftermath of the storm.
Quick follow-up, please.
Follow.
So do we have a way of comparing the number of permits? I mean, are we going to compare the number of permits versus an average season or over the average of the last 10 seasons or something like that?
Yeah, we've actually pulled data that we have access to in our system over the last 10 years. And, excuse me, in last fiscal year, there was about 111 permits that were issued for permanent standby generators for residences. This year, so far, we've issued about 92. So a little bit ahead of the kind of where we were last year at this time. I think in part some of that was also generated by, no pun intended, but generated by the winter storm, which I think some people decided that was something that they wanted to do rather than the typical time frame of the years when we, in the summer months, is when we see kind of an uptick or the majority of the permits being issued for generators.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
William?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to first say I've talked to a bunch of people in Sugarland about the whole home generators and the consideration the city's making. This right here is another example of forward thinking that our city is making this community better for everyone here. And sadly, a lot of the standby generators that I'm finding in conversations, maybe because of demand, are running around $13,000 for a 24 kW. So even if this broke down to being 5%, that is a big, big deal for people trying to prepare their homes for these hurricanes. So I commend everyone involved in this for thinking forward like this. Thank you.
Lisa, one final question. My question relates to, so we're going to have the program run through November, and I know several of my friends are on 6 to 7 to 8 month waiting lists for getting a generator installed, which means they wouldn't be able to meet getting it installed and all the inspections. So do we need to look at, we can monitor it now, I'm fine with it the way it's written, but we may need to extend that based on, you know, the time it takes to get these generators in and get them installed. So I want us to just be conscious of that.
Sure, I'd be happy to provide kind of a status report of how many permits we're issuing and kind of gauge from going from there.
You know, we might think about putting something on the website regarding the program that we have so that people can go ahead and sign up, they can be under contract. They're just not going to have the permits and inspections and all the parts done. They'll have a contract, and we'll just need to know when they enter into that agreement. Anyway, you think through it. Let's monitor it. We'll get you to come back in a couple months. I'll go ahead and make the motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Got a second by William. Any other questions? Vote this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Item number 6A, consideration of an action on the appointment of one member to an unexpired term ending September 30th, 2022 to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm going to go ahead and submit the name of Diane Inglet. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by McCutcheon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Watley. You vote this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you, council members. Item number 7, City Council City Manager reports. 7A, City Council Member reports. Jennifer, let's start with you.
I attended a update with Congressman Nels at the Fort Bend Chamber this past week. I found his report to be rather interesting, and I appreciated all the hard work that he's doing on our behalf on the national level and doing his best to work with all of his colleagues to get the funding that we need for all of the projects that we need to get done here.
Thank you, Jennifer. Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. I count about 9 things that I participated in since the last meeting, but since most of us have done all those, I'm going to just mention that I was able to attend the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce Superintendent and Principals Reception, where we honored retiring LCISD Superintendent Thomas Randall and retiring Fort Bend ISD Superintendent Charles Dupree, and it was a very nice affair, and I think our county's going to miss those 2 people. Thank you.
William.
Mayor, like most of us, we've done a lot over the last 2 weeks, but I've got to tell you, nothing has given me more joy and pride than the Memorial Day ceremony that I attended with all of you. I cannot tell you how thrilled I was to have people walk up in numbers and say, "Sir, thank you for what Sugarland is doing, because other cities local to us have canceled all of our Memorial Day ceremonies, and you guys did this right." One lady wrote me a message today, and she said, "The city of Sugarland is the bomb when it comes to celebrating our soldiers," and I was just blown away. I couldn't wait to tell you guys that. Thank you.
Thanks, William. Carol.
Thank you, Mayor. The mayor and I hosted Congressman Nels at the Skeeters AAA affiliate baseball game, and I brought my iPad with me, so waiting for the congressman to arrive, I ran to a meeting room and spoke at the Commonwealth Annual Board meeting, HOA meeting by Zoom, and Mayor and Council attended the grand opening of the road and connector trail between Memorial Park and Brazos River Park in my district, and I got to do the ribbon cutting. And I'd just like to echo what Councilmember Ferguson said about the Memorial Day ceremony. It was just a really wonderful ceremony. I'd like to thank the staff for everything they did on that.
Thank you, Carol. Michelle.
Mayor, most of it's been said, but I, along with several of our colleagues, attended the opening of the Sugarland Museum here in beautiful town center. It's a very, very nice display of artwork. It's open 5 days a week. It's free to the public, so if you're out here in Sugarland and town center and you're just waiting on a restaurant reservation, pop in there for a few minutes. It's got some beautiful artwork and some local artwork from some local artists as well. Very nice little addition to our town center.
Thank you, Nishad. Suzanne?
Yes, sir. I did something a little different. On the 22nd, we did the Impact to Hero 5K at Constellation Field, which was really great. I didn't run, I walked. But they support the veterans in our military. It was a great event. And the other thing I did, was the Sugarland Rotary Annual Teacher Appreciation Luncheon with Dr. Dupree, which was fantastic. I took my 91-year-old mother-in-law, who has been teaching since 1947. Well, she did quit, but she started then, so it was a great event. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne. And well, I'd like to say, I thought the Memorial Day event was an extraordinary event. We had some great speakers, but more than that, we honored the men and women of our armed forces that over time have given their lives so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have in the United States. And I think we also had great participation by our veterans. The United States is going to continue to be the land of the free and the home of the brave as long as we've got men and women that are going to sign up and volunteer in our armed forces and make that commitment to someday possibly have to give their life so we can enjoy these freedoms. So I really appreciate that, and I know everybody on council does. Item number 7B, City Manager Report. Michael.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to thank our staff. They put on a couple of great events last week. It was a lot of fun getting out and about and seeing a lot of new things and being able to celebrate with our residents. Also want to just thank our first responders that work every holiday and work every weekend so that we can all go about our lives and not have to worry about it and stay safe. Then want to invite the public out to one of my favorite events, which is Yappy Hour. Enjoy a nice cold beverage with your pooch at Memorial Park this Thursday at 6 o'clock. Thank you, sir.
Yappy Hour?
Yes, sir, Yappy Hour.
Yappy Hour.
It's great. You got to come.
Carol, you and Joe get those dogs out there and get them some exercise. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Keep your dog on the leash when you
No.